Right now, you're watching this, and somewhere in your head, a second thought is already forming, not about the video, about something else entirely. Maybe something you said 3 days ago. Maybe something you still haven't done. Your brain wandered. It does that constantly. Every 47 seconds on average. That's not a flaw. That's the oldest system in your body, still running the way it was built. The question isn't why you get distracted. The question is what happens when you can't be. In 2014, researchers at the University of Virginia ran a simple experiment. They put people in a plain white room. No phone, no book, no window, just a chair and their own thoughts. They were asked to sit quietly for 15 minutes. That was the entire experiment. Most people hated it. But here's where it gets strange. The researchers added an option, a small button in the room. If you pressed it, you'd receive a mild electric shock. Not dangerous, just unpleasant. Before the experiment, every participant said they'd pay money to avoid being shocked. Then they sat alone with their thoughts. 67% of men shocked themselves. 25% of women did too. One man shocked himself 190 times. In 15 minutes, they chose pain over silence. That result shouldn't be surprising. But it is, because we've built an entire culture around the idea that distraction is weakness. Phones are the problem. Social media is rotting your attention. If you could just focus, everything would be better. That's the story we tell. But the data points somewhere else entirely. Go back 100,000 years. Your ancestor is sitting at the edge of a camp. The fire is low. The kill from yesterday is mostly gone. There is nothing to do right now. And that stillness, that quiet, that is the most dangerous state a human body can be in, because a brain that isn't scanning is a brain that isn't surviving. The rustling in the grass behind you, the shadow that moved wrong, the silence where birds should be. Your ancestors couldn't afford to be fully present in their own thoughts. Presence got you killed. Distraction kept you alive. Neuroscientist Marcus Reichel discovered something in 2001 that changed how we understand the brain. He was studying brain scans and noticed something no one had expected. When people were given nothing to do, a specific network of brain regions lit up. Not dimmed, lit up. It was most active when you were doing the least. He called it the default mode network, your brain's idle state. Except it isn't idle at all. The default mode network does 4 things no focused brain can do at the same time. It simulates future scenarios, it processes other people's emotions, it consolidates memory, and it searches for threats you haven't consciously noticed yet. This is the system that activates when your mind wanders. When you stare out the window when you're in the shower thinking about nothing and suddenly solve a problem you've been stuck on for weeks. That wasn't an accident. That was the default mode network doing exactly what it was built to do. Distraction isn't the opposite of thinking. It is a kind of thinking, the kind your brain reserves for its most important work. But here's where it gets complicated. The same system that makes you creative and socially intelligent also makes you miserable. A Harvard study tracked 2,250 people throughout their daily lives. They pinged them randomly, asked what they were doing, asked what they were thinking about, asked if they were happy. The results were uncomfortable. 47% of the time, people's minds were not on what they were doing. They were somewhere else, and they were less happy for it. The researchers concluded, a wandering mind is an unhappy mind, but that conclusion is missing something, because the study didn't ask what they were wandering toward. There's a difference between 2 kinds of distraction. The first kind pulls you toward something, a new sound, a smell movement in your periphery. This is the ancestral kind, outward scanning environmental awareness. The system that kept your ancestors alive every single day. The second kind pulls you inward. Rumination, regret, worry, the loop that plays the same memory on repeat. The conversation you keep rewriting, the decision you can't stop second-guessing. This kind doesn't scan the environment. It consumes it, and it runs on the same hardware, the same default mode network, just pointed in the wrong direction. Modern life broke the balance. Your ancestors' default mode network had constant external input to work with. New terrain every day, new faces, new sounds, new problems. The inward pull was balanced by the outward pull of a world that never stopped changing. Now it isn't. You sit in the same chair in the same room, looking at the same 4 walls, with nothing new entering the system. So the network turns inward, and it does what it was designed to do. It scans for threats, except the threats it finds are memories, old arguments, unpaid bills, things you said, things you didn't. This is why solitary confinement is considered torture, not because of hunger or cold, Because a brain locked in stillness, with no external input, eventually turns on itself. The default mode network kept searching, found nothing, and started generating threats out of whatever material was left. Your own thoughts, the psychological damage from 2 weeks in isolation, can last years. Your brain was not designed for stillness. It was designed for a world that never stopped moving. So why do we crave distractions so badly? Because it works. Scrolling works. Not because the content is good, because it provides exactly what the ancient system needs. Novelty, movement, something new entering the frame. Every scroll is a new piece of terrain. Every notification is a sound in the bush. Your nervous system doesn't know the difference between the savannah and your phone screen. It just knows. Something changed, and something changing means you're not dead yet. This is what the phone actually is. Not a distraction from your life. A simulation of the environment your brain was designed to live in. Constant novelty. Constant low-level social information. Who said what? Who went where? Who has more than you? Who is at risk? This is the operating system of the camp. Translated into pixels. Running on glass. In your pocket. The problem isn't that it works, the problem is that it works too well. The novelty never runs out. In the camp, there were 25 to 30 people. The gossip had a floor. Eventually, you'd heard everything. The brain could rest. Now the feed is infinite. The system never gets to say, I've scanned enough. So it keeps going. Hours later, eyes dry. You don't even know why you're still looking. In 2019, researchers at the University of Chicago found that simply having your phone on the desk in front of you, face down, turned off, reduced cognitive capacity. Not because you were using it, because part of your brain was already managing it. The same part that used to listen for movement in the dark. Monitoring, waiting, ready. A background process you never consciously chose to run, and here's what that means. You can't turn off the scanner. You can only choose what it scans. Researchers studying deep focus states, flow states, found that the brain doesn't go quiet during them. The default mode network dims, but it doesn't stop. It recedes just enough for the task to take over. The best performers in any field aren't people with no distractions. They're people whose distraction system got attached to the work itself. The curiosity, the novelty, the next unknown thing inside the problem. They fed the scanner, something worth scanning, but most of us never learned how to do that because nobody told us the scanner was there. We were told to focus, to sit still, to stop letting our minds wander, to pay attention, for hours at a time, in chairs, in rooms, with nothing new entering the environment. We built schools and offices optimized for the one thing the human brain was never designed to do, sustained, voluntary stillness, and then we blamed ourselves for failing at it. The Hadza don't have this problem, not because they're better, because their environment does what their nervous system expects. The terrain changes every hour. There are new sounds, new smells, new social information moving through the camp. Their default mode network has constant material to work with. The scanner never has to turn inward, because the outward world never stops feeding it. There's a study from 2022 out of the University of Southern California. Researchers gave participants unstructured time. No tasks, no goals, no agenda, just time. Half the participants were in a natural environment, forest, meadow, open water. Half were in an urban environment, same phones, same lives, same people. After 90 minutes, the nature group showed significantly lower activity in the subgenual prefrontal cortex, the region associated with rumination. The loop, the replay, the inward spiral, the environment did something no mindfulness app has ever replicated. It gave the scanner something real to scan, and the brain quieted. Not because it stopped, because it finally had enough. So what does this mean for you? It means the 190 self-shocks make perfect sense. That man wasn't weak. His brain was doing exactly what 300,000 years of evolution built it to do, find something, anything, rather than sit alone, in an environment, with nothing new to process. Pain was novel. Pain broke the stillness. Pain meant something was happening, and something happening is the closest thing to safety the ancient brain knows. You're not addicted to your phone, you're not lazy, you're not broken, you're running a system that was never meant to operate in the world you're living in. A system that scans, that seeks, that cannot sit still, because sitting still used to mean you were next. The fix isn't to stop distracting yourself. The fix is to understand what the scanner is looking for. Novelty, movement, social signal. Meaning, give it those things in a form that builds something. A skill that keeps getting harder. A project with real unknowns inside it. People in person whose faces tell you things. No feed ever will. A walk somewhere you haven't been. Not because nature is peaceful, because it's new. And new is what you were built for. Your brain is not your enemy. It is the most sophisticated survival system ever produced by 4 billion years of life on Earth. It got your ancestors through ice ages, famines, and predators that hunted at night. It scanned every shadow, tracked every face, listened for every sound that didn't belong, and it handed that same system to you, fully intact, running at full capacity. In a world that no longer needs it for survival, so it found the next best thing. It found your phone, it found the scroll, it found the noise, and it called it what it has always called, the thing that keeps you moving, necessary. Tonight, when the silence comes and your mind reaches for something, don't call it weakness. Call it what it is, 300,000 years of a brain that refused to stop looking.